Hello everyone, I'm Amita Sharma. I hope you all are staying safe during this tough time of COVID pandemic. My today's video is on the topic of cardinal and ordinal utility approach. In my previous video, it is completely about utility, the law of diminishing marginal utility and its various types of utility that we had discussed. Now, in continuation to it, now we'll be moving towards the theories of consumer behavior, that is the cardinal and the ordinal utility approaches. Now, for one by one, we will be talking about what is cardinal, what is ordinal, and what all are basically the various approaches that comes into it. Now, start with the definition of cardinal utility. Now, what exactly the cardinal utility is? Cardinal utility was actually formulated by the neoclassical economists, and they believe that this particular utility is measurable. Measurable in terms of quantitative terms. Say for example, in the previous video, we discussed that what exactly utility is. There are from two angles we had studied. From one angle, utility is said to be the want satisfying property of a commodity, and from another angle it is said to be the psychological feeling of happiness, pleasure, right? So utility can be studied from two angles, from a product angle and from a consumer angle. Now, this says under these two approaches of consumer behavior, they simply bifurcated that particular utility in terms of quantitative or in terms of qualitative terms. These two approaches, to whom we call it as cardinal and ordinal approach. Cardinal approach simply talks about that utility is measurable. Utility can be measured in numbers. It is measured in terms of in quantitative terms like 1, 2, 3, 4. Like whenever we are buying any goods, services, or we are using any kinds of goods and services, whenever we need to derive the satisfaction out of it, we derive the satisfaction in terms of numbers, right? Say for example, this is that if you are eating apples, you are eating bananas, then you are saying that apple has given me 20 utility and banana is giving me 30 utility. So this is that you are going to measure the satisfaction in terms of numbers. Now, how you measure the satisfaction on the basis of number under the cardinal approach, this is that it can be measured in terms of utils. This is a word which has been mentioned over here is the util. Util expands to units of utility. It is assumed that one util is equal to 1 unit of money. Now, there is a big difficulty that has been found in terms of the cardinal utility because they believe that it is very difficult to measure the satisfaction level of consumer in numerical terms. And although the consumer behavior is again dependent on so many factors like moods, interest, taste, preferences of the consumer. So this completely cardinal utility simply talks about that consumer can measure their satisfaction level, and they can measure their satisfaction level on the basis of numbers, numeric values 10, 20, 1, 2, 3, etc. Now the ordinal utility approach. What exactly the ordinal utility approach? Ordinal utility is propounded by the modern economists, that is J.R. Hicks and R.G.D. Allen. They are the modern economists, those who have defined the ordinal utility approach. They believe that utility or the satisfaction that the consumer they are deriving, it cannot be measured in terms of in quantitative terms. You cannot measure them numerically with numbers. They believe that utility is said to be a psychological phenomena and cannot be measured in this particular way. They believe that you can measure utility with certain kinds of preferences, with certain more, less than, more than. These are the things which we can call it as qualitative terms through which we can measure the utility. You can't say, these economists, the modern economists, they says that you cannot say that banana has given me 50 utils and apple has given me 25 utils, so banana is has given me more satisfaction. It is not like that. They says that in the modern field, in the modern era, we can't use these words, or we cannot measure our satisfaction in terms of utils. They says that we can measure our satisfaction, but in a qualitative terms. Like we can say that if we are consuming, say for example, we are consuming three chocolates together. We are consuming Five Star, we are consuming Bhavan, we are consuming Dairy Milk Silk. Now, while consuming all the three, you say one person is consuming all the three, and then he says that Dairy Milk Silk has given me more satisfaction, then Five Star, and after that, Barwan has given me least satisfaction. So here you are telling your more preferred chocolate. So Silk is on the first one. After that, they get better satisfaction from Five Star, and at last they get the satisfaction from Power. So less than, more than, better than, these are the terminologies that we are basically used under the qualitative part. So ordinal utilities completely says that utility is measurable but in the qualitative term. Comparison chart. Comparison chart basically shows the differentiation between the two utility, that is cardinal and ordinal utility. So firstly, we'll quickly go through the difference between the two. The very first difference between the two is on the basis of their definition. Here under the cardinal utility, they simply says that utility that the consumer they are deriving, or we can say the satisfaction that the consumer they are deriving from the consumption of any kind of good and services that can be measured in numbers. But when we talk about ordinal utility approach, this is that whatever the satisfaction that the consumer they are deriving from the consumption of any kind of goods and services that cannot be measured in terms of numbers. Another is approach. What kind of approach cardinal and ordinal utility follows? When we talk in terms of approach, cardinal approach always a quantitative approach in which we can measure the utility in terms of numbers. Here in this case of ordinal, it is always qualitative. Where we are simply talking about less than, more than, preferable, or any kind of preference that we are providing to this particular approach. Third basis of comparison is realistic. When we talk about how much realistic these approaches are, we find it more realistic in terms of ordinal utility. Because when we are deciding about which good or which services is giving you satisfaction, we always not calculate that I have purchased a laptop right now, and I have purchased one Samsung new handset. Then laptop has given me 50 utils, and mobile handset has given me 45 utils. Are we actually measure our satisfaction, or we simply says that laptop is much better than mobile phones, or like that? I prefer more mobile phones instead of laptop. You usually say like this. So the more realistic part is the ordinal approach than the and less is the cardinal approach. Then the fourth is measurement. How we measure the satisfaction. Under the cardinal approach, we measure it in terms of utils, and under the ordinal approach, we measure them on the basis of rankings, less than, more than, like this. Fifth is analysis. Usually comparison chart, it is being done through marginal utility analysis. Like cardinal utility and marginal utility analysis, how we are going to understand this concept. In the previous video, we talk about marginal utility, right? We had made the entire schedule, we had made the entire graph out of it. It is completely an example of cardinal utility approach, in which we can see that with increase in the number of units, the utility was also increasing to certain level and then it was decreasing. So marginal utility analysis is a complete example or through which you can analyze that to what extent the utility is increasing and to what extent it becomes constant and then it starts. And under the ordinal utility approach, we have indifference curve analysis. This is our next slide in which we will be telling you what exactly indifference curve analysis is. That I'll tell you later. Then who has promoted these two approaches? When we talk about cardinal utility, it has been propounded by the classical and the neoclassical economists, and the ordinal approach was given by the modern economists. So the latest approach is the ordinal one. Indifference curve analysis. An indifference curve analysis is basically the locus of all the combination of two goods which gives the same level of satisfaction to the consumer. What does it mean? An indifference curve basically shows the combination of two commodities which a consumer consumes, and these two commodities of different combinations give the same level of satisfaction to the consumer. Say for example, a consumer is consuming two commodities, one is apple, one is banana. He is using different quantities of these two commodities. Say for example, he is consuming 12 bananas and 5 apples. In another combination, he is consuming 14 bananas and 3 apples. So each combination of these two commodities is giving a consumer a similar level of satisfaction. And when the consumer they are being asked to tell about their preferences, which one is better, then the consumer is indifferent to make the choices. So, or we can say he is indifferent towards any of the commodity. So in other words, we can say that consumer give equal preferences to all such combination. This concept is very much clear to you in the next slide. Now to understand the concept of indifference curve, we are making a schedule and the curve of it. Now start with the indifference curve schedule first. Look at the schedule. In this schedule, we have three columns. First is combination, then x-axis, y-axis, and the MRS. We call it as marginal rate of substitution. We'll cover it later. First of all, move to these first 3 points. Combination x and y. Indifference curve, what exactly the definition of indifference curve is? It is showing it is a locus of points showing the combination of two commodities which give the consumer same level of combination. Whatever the combination of these two commodities the consumer they are consuming, they are giving them the same level of satisfaction. So it says that when a consumer is consuming one commodity of good X and 12 commodity of good Y, he is getting a combination of A. A is a combination of 1 of X and 12 of Y. B is a combination of 2 of X commodity and 8 of Y commodity. C combination is 3 of X commodity when he is consuming and 5 of Y commodity. D is 4 of X commodity and 3 of Y commodity. Now you can see that one commodity X is increasing and on the other hand the Y is decreasing, right? Okay, we'll understand this concept later on. First of all, understand this concept. Whenever we make the indifference curve only, we use two commodities and we use the two different quantities of these two commodities and make out a combination. And accordingly, we make out the graph of it. Here, don't get confused about the figures, right? So here, this is the entire, with this particular schedule, this is the entire graph which has been, or the curve which has been made, right? So this is a basic introduction on the indifference curve. On x-axis we have kept the good x, and on the y-axis we have put the good and we had simply plotted this particular thing, and each point we are going to name it as, here this point is. These are the properties of indifference curve. There are mainly four properties of indifference curve are there. The first is indifference curve slopes downward to the right. Higher the indifference curve, higher the level of satisfaction of the consumer. Indifference curve cannot intersect with each other. Indifference curve are convex to the origin. Now we are going to explain each one of the property in detail because it is said to be a very important topic. The very first property of the indifference curve is it is sloping downward to the right. Why the indifference curve always slope downward to the right is that because indifference curve is always made up of two commodities combination. When the consumer they are consuming two commodities different combination, and each combination is giving him same level of satisfaction, then this particular curve is known as indifference curve. But to make out or maintain the same level of satisfaction, it is very much important that if the consumer they are consuming two commodities like apple and mangoes, if he is increasing the consumption of apple, he need to decrease the consumption of mango in order to maintain the same level of satisfaction, right? So that's why the satisfaction remains same, and that is why it is moving in the downward sloping curve. For any clarification, just look at the previous schedule in which you will find out that one commodity's unit is increasing in each combination and another commodity is decreasing. It is always there because if both the commodities units is going to increase, then it will reach to a saturation. So in order to maintain the same level of satisfaction, it is necessary that if one is increasing, then the another need to get decrease. Higher indifference curve are preferred to lower ones. It simply says that higher the indifference curve, higher the level of satisfaction to the consumer. How these three curves are being prepared, usually if we see IC1, IC2, IC3, we have three indifference curve. What does it mean that if IC1 is one indifference curve, in this particular indifference curve is prepared by two commodities, that is X and Y. IC2 is again being prepared by two commodities, that is X and Y. And IC3 is again being prepared by good X and Y. Now, each, then what is the difference? Why these curves are different? Right? Why one is above than another one? The reason is the quantity that each indifference curve is using is different. Like say for example, we look at IC1. In IC1, good X and good Y commodities are less consumed than IC2. Commodities are same because on X-axis we have only one good, that is good X, and on Y-axis we have another good, that is good Y. But what is the difference between IC1 and IC2 is the only difference is the number of units that we are consuming. What combination of commodities, what quantity of combinations of commodities that the consumer they are consuming. So that is the main difference. So in IC3, the consumer they are consuming higher quantities of the commodities of combinations. So higher the quantity are being consumed by the consumer, the higher level of satisfaction that the consumer they are getting. So we can say IC3 is giving the indifference curve 3 is giving more satisfaction to the consumer than IC2, and IC2 is getting more satisfaction than IC1, right? So the least satisfaction is being given by IC1 combinations, then later on IC2, and higher satisfaction will be given by IC3. Now, the next property of indifference curve is that indifference curve cannot intersect with each other. Now, this is a very important property because it simply says that always indifference curves moves in a parallel way. If a consumer they are using different quantities of combinations of two commodities, but they never intersect with each other. So, what is the logic behind it? Just look at the logic. Here in this particular picture, there is a two indifference curves are being shown and they are intersecting with each other. So what is the logic? Why indifference curve can never intersect with each other? Let's take the example of this curve. This is a curve which is showing, this is a two indifference curve. One is I1 and I4, right? Two indifference curves are there, right? Now B, C, A are the various combinations under these indifference curve, right? They're simply saying that in case indifference curve intersect, what is the outcome of it? How this particular outcome doesn't match with the indifference curve concept. Suppose if happens, you know, B, C, A are the different points of satisfaction to the consumer. They say B and C, can they be giving the same level of satisfaction to the consumer? Right? So for example, A is equals to B can be done. If A is giving certain level of satisfaction to the consumer, B can give the same level of satisfaction to the consumer. Or we can say, can A is equals to B? It can be, right? Because each combination gives the same level of satisfaction as per the definition. Now look at to the other end. Can A is equals to C? Can A will be equal to C? Can be, because A and C are there in the same indifference curve. So A can give the same level of satisfaction to the consumer like C, right? So A equals to C. But can B equals to C? Can B can be equal to C or not? B cannot be equal to C. Reason being because B is having more level of satisfaction, because B is on the higher indifference curve, because B is giving more satisfaction to the consumer instead of C, because in the previous property we have learned that higher the indifference curve, higher the number of commodities, the higher the level of satisfaction that the consumer they are getting. So that's why I said that indifference curve do not intersect with each other. Now, the fourth property of indifference curve is that indifference curves are convex to the origin. When I say convex to the origin, it simply says that it is never be a straight line, never a concave to the origin. It's always convex to the origin. It simply says that it is completely convex from the left to the right part. The basic reason why it is convex to the origin, the reason is the marginal rate of substitution. The marginal rate of substitution is simply talks about that as the consumer they keep on increasing the units of a particular commodity, he need to sacrifice some units of the another commodity in order to maintain the same level of satisfaction. We had studied in the very first topic of the indifference curve, in which you have seen that there are two commodities or the combination of two commodities which the consumer they are consuming, and there is a marginal rate of substitution is there. So how we need to calculate and how it is being calculated, just look at it. Marginal rate of substitution, we call it as MRS as well. MRS shows the rate at which one good can be substituted for another while keeping the utility constant. Marginal rate of substitution basically says that if the consumer they want to consume any additional unit of another commodity, he need to compromise some units of the first commodity. If you are consuming two commodities like apple and banana, if you want to increase the number of bananas, then you need to sacrifice some units of apple. The main purpose is to maintain the same level of satisfaction. Now, how we calculate MRS? We calculate the MRS by delta y divided by delta x. Delta y is change in y divided by change in x. What this y and x are, these are basically the name of the commodities. If you are taken apple and banana, so you get change. keep it as delta apple divided by delta banana. Now just look at this particular schedule. What this schedule is showing, it is showing a combination of two commodities. Now the two commodities are X and Y. Now combination 1 is showing 1 unit of X and 18 units of Y. Combination 2 is showing 2 units of X and 13 units of Y. 3 is showing 3 units of X and 9 units of Y. So this is actually being shown under the case of indifference curve. Now how we'll calculate the marginal rate of substitution? Marginal rate of substitution is calculated by this figure. So how we'll find out delta y? Delta y is here 18. There is no figure above it. So or there is no figure above it. So we can keep it as dash. Move to the second combination. When we are going to do like this, when we are finding a change, what is the difference between 18 and 13? It is 5. What is the difference between 2 and 1? 1. So it's 5 divided by 1 is the MRX. You can calculate it, it will come in the figures of 1, 0, right? So you can decimal digits, it will come like this. In the exam, you need to mention the point figures also. You just divide it properly. Now move to the next one. Here we have these figures 13 minus 9 is 4, 3 minus 2 is 1, then 4 is 2, 1. So this is the way through which we find out the y figure change. Now that is the way through which you are going to calculate the marginal rate of substitution. So with each figure of y and x, you need to find out the change with the current and the previous figure of x as well as y, and accordingly you will be able to find the marginal rate of substitution. It is a very important topic, so I hope you have understood the presentation. Thank you.